Hotep, greetings, peace, Merie, love. Learning now about how soul structuring works, from the spirit-based formats to the soul grand formats. So the first thing we have to recognize is that beingness is categorized based on level of awareness and how it functions. So starting from, instead of the bottom, the top, we'll use this in terminology that people can already get. They use words like God, they use words like nTr, they use words like, deity, celestial, things of these nTrs. nTru, my apology. What God is a combination of smaller formats of awareness. So a person on Facebook likened us to the Sims, stating, what if life is like the Sims and there's something bigger or other things attempting to play the game by getting us to do things? This is exactly 100% true. No matter what we do, no matter how different we think we are being, and I will be one of the most guilty of being the most different as I possibly can be. I know that in the end, I am still following the directive of the all, everything that is, what people call God or something of that nature. It is all within the function. So even if I wanted to do it, it was still within the function for me to want to do it. It was still within the will of the all, you see? Because we are all within the cosmic structure. We are all within the time loop, the time lapse, the time warp, which means that everything that we do is completely already accounted for most of the time by the way we think of accountment. So for a computer, for instance, we expect that if we have virus protection software, if a virus is detected, like it would detect that the software would detect the virus and it would immediately go to the process of eliminating the virus. We would think that if we were trying to send something Bluetooth, that there would be something in the computer, if it has Bluetooth ability, to immediately detect that we were trying to send something Bluetooth, and then it would receive the file or it would notify us to click accept, right? So that's the same with everything else. As a person, if we want to go to school, even though it is our choice whether or not we go, you see, we have free will as it applies to ourselves. But everything we do is a calculation of the greater beingness. So let's say it looks at the energy field, and we have an energy field, people call them chakras, that make up this energy field, energy bodies, etheric body, light body, many names. The grander beings, what they call souls, because everybody doesn't necessarily have what you would consider to be a full soul, but I don't want to disrespect anyone in their mind of beingness of what they think. So we will say there is what people call greater souls, over souls, macro souls, or gods, or deities, and things like that. They look at the beings that are attached to them as representations of their lower states of awareness. See, you can have lower nTrs that move around and function, and you don't know you're having them. And many people call them spirit guardians or things like that. So you may have like, what's my spirit animal? That's actually one of your lower nTrs. So if you have maybe a wolf as your spirit animal, it's one of your lower nTrs. It's one of those things that your awareness actually controls to a degree without you actually knowing it. It is a part of your base format. It is a part of your subconscious. It is a part of your underworld, moving around in the shadow-like realm, protecting you, bringing back juicy data that you don't know, and you transforming, and then one day you finally know you got spirit guide, and boom. So That's the same thing on the higher planes, except they are aware of most of the time of their lower nTrs, which would be anything existing on the lower plane. So if we want to go through pantheons, we would say that when we're talking about Kemet, Ra is the oversoul or the greater soul or the head god. And the lower nTrs beneath God, Ra would be Asar, and then you would have Set, and then you would have Jehuti, right? And then you would have Heru, and you would have Nebet, you would have Sekhmet, you would have Anpu, right? So all of these would be the lower nTrs of Ra. So from the top of the pyramid descending downward. But as the top head, Ra is aware of all things that it is going to create and coalesce into an experience. However, all of those who may make up, because we have to recognize that, let's say I say the word Heru, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm talking about one person. I am talking about a coagulative energy that brings people of a certain frequency and a vibration of alignment together. So when one person says, I am studying Kemet's secret literature and religion and doctrines, and there are other people doing the same, yeah, Ra may attempt to prompt one individual who has been studying and learning to be teaching now, to be spreading the word. And let's say this individual, because it's still within free will, decides that it will not be going with that directive. It will go where it wants to go and do whatever it sees within its own perspective is what it wants to do. This is still within the calculations of Ra, because this is all within the pyramid. It is within the pantheon of what they call gods, which are actually nTr and Kemet. So then Ra would simply have another that would be molded and coalesced into that figure or that form. And this is the same way with the Sims game, is that, when you see a character you want to connecting with and you mess it up somehow, I guess, by pressing the wrong button. And I don't play video game like those that much, but I did for a little bit. I've seen it. So that's how it's working. And the same thing happening on a higher plane, except the only difference is we press the buttons down here. We receive the directive from up there. And we all connected through the same thing. And it is our body, and we are its body. And it is our mind, our higher mind. And we are its existence. So a lot of people look at the reality and they say, people are worshiping gods and, and things like that. They don't really get it. It's not, see, the people who think they are worshiping a god, they don't even get it. You don't worship it after a while. You do pray to your entirety of beingness, because you assimilate yourself into it. You absorb yourself into it. You allow yourself to become one with the essence of the beingness and to be filled up with the vibration of what that means. And that is how it comes about for us to be in alignment with that state of awareness. And this is with all states of beingness. So you can have beings that are demonic or negative that also attempt to play you like a video game, but they are not necessarily higher on the scale than you. See, even the lower nTrs can be out of alignment. Some people, they think they're being haunted by demons and negative entities and mischievous things. But really, they're being haunted by their uncontrolled misuse power. They're being haunted by their failure to have self-control. And it's a blow for a lot of people, It can be a blow for yourself or myself. I recognize that in the end of a lot of my experience that I was dealing with something that was technically of a pantheon of energy that came from outside of me. Like not literally what it was that I was subscribed to. as an energy, and it was attempting to feed off of and utilize me for its personal gain. But I also recognized that a lot of the issues that I had were coming from my uncontrolled energies, you know? And I never said it was a demonic thing. At least I didn't want to believe that it would have to be that way. And then I found in that it was not. It was simply a power that I had that was out of control. And so it manifests itself in our reality as what we consider to be some kind of malicious being. You know, people have many pictures and things of them, and you may even see it in the darkness, because when the energy is out of control, then it can grow in all kinds of ways, like a garden that you never clipped its weeds and the vines, and they everywhere, and it looks, you can barely get through it without thorns, right? And you're bleeding. So we have to remember that that can also control our actions, is because your lower nTrs are actually stronger than your higher nTrs. The higher nTrs, so we're talking about the chakra system. Many people don't talk about the chakras that are in the legs. You know, the energy sent the legs, like the energy that comes from the legs is extremely important to talk about, because that governs actually probably about 90% of our upper energies. Our upper energies are governed by simple thought processes, like things that we actually focus on. But the lower energies are governed by our natural instincts, the things that we don't ever really pay attention to. Like the way you never think to digest food, there are things that go on spiritually that we never think to pay attention to. We never think, most people don't ever think, wait, I sense spiritual activity over there, put up reflective barrier. Okay, I need to transmute energy at 10 degrees, vibration 432. We don't really think that way. You know what I'm saying? And even people who think it put up barrier, they usually just think put up entire barrier. I'm transmuting all negative energy. They don't ever think, okay, I need to transmute the negative energy coming from 90-degree angle at the very top of my head, you know, coming from the back right side. Like they don't really think that way, because that usually is the job of the lower nTr. So your wolf spirit guide, you know what I'm saying? Like what they call spirit guide, which is spirit guard, because it's guarding actually itself, which is you, because you are manifesting it based on the power that you feed yourself through meditations and through the direction that you move, which is in your soul's alignment, which is why a lot of people can be, in this day and age, very vulnerable to assault outside of themselves, because their lower nTr is either weak or completely out of control, and it can't actually defend them properly. So then you have people who seem possessed and they're moving around, and it's like, well, actually that person's only possessed with their own energy out of control. Okay, that person is possessed by something completely destructive and malicious. And you can tell the difference, because when somebody's possessed by something destructive and malicious, they go beyond the normal destructiveness, craziness that you would see. They take it to the extreme. Now they're selling people things that will kill them. Now they're actually out there just murdering people for no reason. Now they're out there enslaving people who have not, that's not their registered thing for being happening to them. It's a kind of a dominative, forceful thing. It's like karma out of control, you know? Like, let's say I slap you on the wrist, then karma is me getting slapped back on the wrist. You know, like karma is not me getting punched in the face. But some beings will cause when the karma is supposed to come back and you get slapped on the wrist, that you do get punched in the face, because they're attempting to usurp the natural flow of beingness and make it in a reverse flow so that they can eat the energy. Because when you receive too much from what you see you did, and then you receive too much back from it, then you're like, and then a lot of people go into past lives and things like that, but you have to stay away from those things, because that's dangerous, because then you have a justification for something that doesn't actually make sense and happening in this moment. And then we lose track of the fact that everybody needs to learn what it is that is attempting to manipulate or control them, or know that their power is out of control, and get control of it. Then we know that we are in the Sims game, and we are like a computer, and we all do play a role. And we may see one being as the head, but the truth is that the head is actually all of us at the same time. But most of us can only tune into the head when we have the alignment proper. Some of us can tune into the head regardless, and that can also be dangerous because we can see things we're not ready to see and know things that we may explain improperly or to the wrong people. And everything is right, but it can be wrong. You get what I'm saying? So you can do the wrong thing and it's still right. However, so for instance, let's say I do something that goes against my natural state of beingness. Like I was to go out and just slap 100 people for just no reason in my personal state of awareness. I just go back, slap 100 people in a row. Like, and they all saw it too. Like they saw me slap the first person all the way to 100. It was wrong for me, but maybe it was right for them because they had to recognize, hey, don't you move out of the way or something? Don't you leave or, you know, like, so that's the same thing with the expectation of our reality is that like the Sims game, Ra could play me like, all right, I'm going to make you backslap 100 people. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, but you know what I'm saying? Then it goes through and it plays out. And I'm like, I just did something stupid. But in the end, I taught people a valuable lesson about learning to protect yourself because it could have been worse than a backslap that happened to them. And that's the same thing that goes on with a lot of our experiences. A lot of people think that negative things happen to them and they need to call on the Jeritiu, their ancestors, to come save them. When truly it's actually that the uniform essence of all that is in our beingness is playing out an experience for us to say, you know, as a female, you attract, you know, men who need healing because you needed to refine your healing ability and you need to heal yourself too. So you need to have a stronger ability. You need to have a more sophisticated healing and proper ability to bring that forth on an easier level and to communicate that energies and not be so offended by it because men on this planet are needing healing. They do. They have been effeminized or otherwise, right? And so that's not like some kind of negative thing that we figured out. How do we stop it? It's how do we transcend it? How do we move up the ladder so that we can see from the higher perspective now? And then you begin to actually be able to see because once you get actually all the way up there, it gets kind of scary. It can get a bit scary for a second because everybody looks like a robot. And then you got to learn how to be able to ground your awareness. What they call ground is basically you have to be able to go up and then get that. If you know how you see and how things are, but you bring it back down and you don't lose it so that you can, like me, I bring it to you. I was telling you right now, trust me, it was scary when I first saw this because everybody looked like a robot. Even my own woman, everybody looked like a robot. It's like you can't say or do anything else. No, they can't. They can only operate on those frequencies because those are the waveform patterns that they are moving with, and they have to move up in the state of the scale of vibration or over or wherever the perspective-based format they're looking to go to operate differently. And until you reach a certain level of awareness, you can't actually operate as anything other than what appears to be a robot. And even I look like a robot to some beings that are actually, you know, a little higher than me, and they're looking and they tell me too, they're like, man, you kind of, I wish you would. And I'm like, look, it's just like, leave me alone. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that because we know you from before, you're down there. So we're not going, you're going to reassimilate and go all the way back up in the ladders to your higher state of awareness. Then I lose that format. So you stop doing certain things, like getting upset when certain things happen, you know, like lacking the ability to compensate and be flexible in your energies. Many people lack that ability because you start playing like Sims game. You start playing Sims game. But you're dangerous then, though. You need to pay attention to your awareness because you could get locked into a cycle of manipulating people. And that's where the manipulation really comes from, when people tune into their higher states of awareness. So much love, happy ascension. I hope that explains it a little better. I think I kind of went around and up and down and left and right. So I'll coagulate that awareness and then bring it back at a later date. Shem Merie Hotep. Go in love and peace. Shem Maat. Let's go do Maat.